Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In a previous lecture, we looked at how to consume external API in our Svelte application. So today we're going to be looking at how to handle form actions, which Sveltekit makes really easy for us by either allowing our form to be submitted using the normal page refresh or by using JavaScript to handle our form submission without extra work to do on our end. If you are coming from React background, I know you would have faced a whole lot of issues with when you're handling form actions. So, but in Sveltekit, it makes it so easy. So today, let's see how that works in Sveltekit, and we'll be building this simple application that checks for the fields and returns an error if there's any, right? And when these fields are filled out and the user clicks on login, takes them to the profile page. So this application is not going to be doing much. It's just to do a basic check and to redirect after. It's just for us to see how form actions work in Sveltekit. So let's get to it. So to see how form actions works in Sveltekit, the first thing we want to do is to create a form on our page.svelte. So let's create a form. Let's create a form. So in our form, we're going to have an input type of text, which is, of course, the name is going to be username, and the placeholder will be username. And we're going to create another one, but this is going to be password. The type is password, and the name is going to be password, and the placeholder is password. Then we'll create a button of type submit, says login. Now, so we already have our form. So for us to be able to use the form actions appropriately in Sveltekit, remember there is no action. I did not add any action attribute. I did not add any action attribute to this form because Sveltekit will automatically handle this for us. So the only thing I've got to do here is to add the method, which is of course going to be post, right? So it's not that you're not going to be using action at some point, the action attribute I mean. So but for you to use action attributes, it means you've already created a named action. For example, if I'm redirecting to a named action, let's create our action here. So let's export. Well, let me just use my. So we're going to create actions here, which is going to be imported from Sveltekit/kit. And so this action is actually going to be the one to undo every of our form submission. So when a user clicks on the login page, the svelte.js file listens to that data on the form, then pick all the data on the form and send to our default action, which we want to create now. So default. So these are default action. If I click on it now, console.log welcome from form. Okay, so on our page, if we try to do this now, you see the page refreshes and we are getting the the information on our server here, right? So there's another attribute I'm going to add to the form, which Sveltekit gives us the opportunity to use. So when we add that attribute, and JavaScript is enabled in the browser, okay, the form submission will be handled by JavaScript, okay? But if the JavaScript is disabled in the browser, then it falls back to the normal page refresh. So let's add use enhance, which is actually going to be imported from the App Store here. So what this actually will do is it will take over the form submission here and prevent this page from reloading here. So if you take a look at it now, when I click on the login button, it says at the top here, the page is supposed to refresh. Now it's still refreshed, but because we are using an enhancement here that Sveltekit provided for us to use, so if I click on login, you see my page no longer refreshes and I'm still getting the data that I return. So which means if I try to pass data in here, right, it will still return that form. So, and yes, you can see it clears out the form just like when like the way it will handle it when the page actually refreshes. So now the next thing we want to do is, how do we get the information of this form? Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll go to our page.server.ts, right? And we have access to events in our default action. So if I console log this, console log events, right? And let's click. See, so let me drag this up. See, so we have access to routes, to URL, we have access to cookies and all that from within. So, but every of our data that we want to access from the form, we are not going to be using all of the attributes of this event. So we are going to destructure it to get our request, because every of the form data will be saved inside the event. And because we are actually going to be waiting for a promise, so we need to await this form to be processed. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is let form equals await the request dot form data. Okay, so with this now, we'll be able to access whatever that is filled into our form here. So take, for example, let's remember we have username. So let username equals form dot get, and then username. Let's do the same thing for password. Form dot get password. Okay, so if I console log this now, username and password. Okay, now so let me fill out this form. So you see, now we are already having access to every of the data on this form without our page being refreshed and with very little code. So the next thing we want to do is to check if any of this feed is empty. So what we have to do, if username is empty, then return failed. So Sveltekit provides this for us to return errors. So we can then pass maybe 402 error code, and we can say form errors. Then we can say username field cannot be empty. Okay, and let's do the same thing for password. If password equals this empty, then let's return. So fail has been imported for us at the top here, so from Sveltekit. Okay, so return fail, still going to return 402, and we're going to have a form errors, then password field cannot be empty. So when this error is being returned, it's going to be returned as an action data to our page.svelte. So when it is returned as an action data to our page.svelte, then we can display the error on our page. Because now if I click on this, you see nothing is happening, but the fields are empty, right? So nothing is happening because we've not captured that on our page.svelte. So let's go and undo that in our page.svelte. So the first one we want to do is we want to export form. Remember, we're using that form here. So we already set the form. So here, let's have form equals, form as an action data. The type is going to be action data, which is going to be imported for us. So with this now, if we try to console log form from our page, let's inspect on console. So now you see, so if I click on, so for us to be able to see the errors, so I'm just going to create a reactive statement here, then console.log form, right? So you see it's saying username because I clicked before. So you see this is the new event. If I refresh the whole page, then we start again. See, so I have access to these form errors which we created from our page.server.ts. So as an action data on page.svelte. So with this now, we can easily listen to form errors using our form that we have here. Okay, so the state that we created here, which is the form, we can use that to access the action data that we receive from the page.server.ts. So now what we want to do is we need to check first before displaying any error. So let's look here. Let's do to check if there's any error. So if form errors, you see it's already getting that. And the reason you are seeing this question mark is because yes, it is possible for this this state to be empty. So that's why it's added here. So but it's still the same thing. If you're using JavaScript, you might not see this. If you're using it .js, I mean. So but here I'm using .ts. So let's check if there is form errors, then it should display the error that we received. So let's say div, let's create a div of class, or let's say data dot theme equals light. Then we're going to display our form dot form errors here. Okay, so you see it's already here now. So I'm going to add this inside an article so making a web palette. So now you see we're already getting the error that we received in our console. So if I fill this now and I click, it's going to say password field is not allowed. And you see now we do not have any error. So it is cleared because we do not have any data returned. So now for us to be able to display the text in color, I'm just going to add a little class here. So let's try again. And now we have this because username is empty. Now, if this is empty, then we do not have anything again. So the final thing that we want to do is after the fields have been filled out, the username and the password, we want to redirect to our profile page. Okay. So let's go back to our page.server.ts. So if these conditions are met, then we can say return redirect. The direct is provided for us by Sveltekit, and we can then redirect with a status code of 200, which means everything is fine. Then we can, which page are we redirecting to? Profile. Okay. So I already created the profile route here, you see. So that's where it's going to redirect us to. So now basically what we are doing here is we created a form on our page.svelte, which is to be handled by our page.server.ts. So when a user fills this form, right, then our page.server.ts will take that data from the request. Okay. Then we are accessing form data, which bodies the username and the password that we're expecting. Then we'll get that out of the form, check if any of this field is empty, then if none of them is empty, then we'll redirect to profile page. And on our page.svelte, what we are doing is the error message that is coming from page.server.ts, we are receiving it as an action data on our page.svelte. So with this, we'll be able to access the key that we set in here for our errors. Okay. So then after that, we are displaying the errors. If the error exists, we'll first check if there's any error message returned from our page.server.ts. If there is no error returned, then we proceed to the next phase, which is redirecting the user to the profile page. So that is how to handle form actions. In our next lecture, we will look at something more interesting about Svelte that make it more super powered than other frameworks. So thank you for watching the video once again. And I want to say thank you to everyone that have watched the previous video. And I want to say thank you. Remember to subscribe if you have not subscribed, and give a thumb up if you really enjoyed this video. So let's test our application again to make sure everything works fine. So we look here. Okay. So the username is empty. We'll fill it out. Then the password, let's check if it's empty. We'll get our errors. Then if it's not empty, then it redirects the user to the profile page. So that's basically how to handle form actions in Sveltekit. This really make life easy compared to the likes of React and other frameworks out there. This is really, really, really cool. So thank you once again for watching my video. I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye.